So, guys, you're very welcome to this webinar in the Club Leadership Series. My name is Niall Lorraine, and I'm a National Development Officer with the LGFA, and I'm delighted here this evening to be joined by Aidan McLaughlin. Aidan, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Niall. I'm one of the development officers, and also we're very lucky we've two, so eases the workload a wee bit, so it's good to be on, Niall, and I'm sure the participants will get a lot out of this as well.
Yeah, thanks very much, Aidan. And I suppose tonight's webinar is going to be around promoting your club, and I suppose how do you make your club most appealing to prospective volunteers and members and players and everything in between. So maybe we'll get started here, and I might hand over just before this. I'll hand over to Aidan, but just for anyone, if you have a question during the presentation, there's a Q&A function. We'll give you an opportunity to engage throughout, and you know, if you have any other interactions or if you have anything you'd like to add to tonight, type it into the chat. And if you can't hear or speak at any stage, you know, we advise you just to leave the webinar and come back in. So I suppose just before we begin, I'll hand over to Aidan, and I'll keep the slides going for you, Aidan. Sure. Have you, maybe you've frozen on us, Aidan, have you? We'll keep going anyway, and you might come back to us. I suppose, guys, you know, why do you need to promote your club? You know, every club needs publicity, and it helps development, and it helps attract new members as well, and it encourages and motivates your present members. So it's a good position of responsibility to be in terms of promoting your club, because it can be so beneficial for your club. You know, everyone likes to know, and it's something we're not very good at, is telling everyone all the good things we're doing. And the more you can do that, I suppose the better light you'll put your club in. The other thing to remember is, you know, media is not obliged to cover ladies Gaelic football, and you know, therefore, you know, in order to ensure increased publicity, you know, our clubs must be self-promoting, so nobody will do it for you. And especially, you know, when we've someone here, you know, from Glasgow as well, you know, there's even less onus, I suppose, on media and papers and things like that there to cover you. So it's good to be self-promoting as well. And I suppose the main function of promoting your club is to communicate with the general public on behalf of the club, present a positive image of the club and ladies Gaelic football in the local community and beyond. Also, you know, this will act as a voice of the club when dealing with the media and the wider public. And you know, remember that people have choices. Remember, you know, people don't have to be a member of your club. So why would they choose your club? And I don't know, Aidan, do you have any thoughts just to add on that one?
Sorry, Niall. Up in the sticks here, my internet went down there, so I'm back in here now. So sorry if that caused any confusion. I was panicking trying to get back in there. So whereabouts were you at? Sorry. Just
there, but why do you think it's important to promote your club? So just do you have any thoughts even from your own experience about why it is so important that you're promoting your club, especially within the local area?
I think, you know, I worked in urban areas for quite a long time. They're fighting against other sports and other things all the time. So it's really important to get the good news stories out there, especially around primary schools, even in terms of recruitment. Yeah. Not just players, but volunteers as well. So it's so important to promote your club. I know we'll cover it later on, using social media as well, but even having a face in the public as well, it helps massively.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, Aidan. So I might hand over to yourself, just, and you might take us through the next couple of slides, just.
Yeah, no problem now. Thank you. So folks, we can just see there, remember, a higher profile equals more members, plus volunteers, plus more supporters, plus more sponsors. That all makes sense. So there's that famous old saying, if you throw enough muck at a wall, some of it'll stick. So the more you're seen out there, or the more information you're getting out there, the more members you'll hopefully get, which will lead to more volunteers. And without volunteers, our clubs will be nothing. Our counties as well. I know me and Niall are very lucky to be paid employees as well, but we're both volunteers in our club. I know Niall's probably rushing off to take a session after this tonight, and I'm out 2-3 nights a week as well, at least. So volunteers are needed, more supporters. So the more supporters coming in through the gate, spreading the good news as well, and leads to more sponsors. So we all know how much money it takes to run our club. It's absolutely massive. And the more sort of sponsorship you can get in, every little helps. So just remember that, folks, as well. So the higher profile, we have more members, more volunteers, more supporters, and more sponsors. All that helps.
Yeah, and it's back to that thing, isn't it, Aidan, as well, that nobody's going to do this for you. You know, nobody has any God-given right to have people involved in their club. I know obviously within Gaelic Games and within the LGFA, we're very fortunate that we have such a strong attachment to our local communities, but nobody has to be involved. So why should they be involved? And I suppose the better profile, the higher profile, the more good news, you'll get more people involved, I suppose, is the big thing to take away from that. Aidan?
So understanding your customers. So if your club is looking to grow its membership, it's important to take a step back and think about your potential customers. You can do this by working out what type of person your club would appeal to. Take a look at your club vision, which should be clear about what type of club you are and what you offer both on and off the field. And looking at your competitor clubs in the area, once you have an understanding of what type of club they are and what they offer, identify what makes you different and more attractive to potential members. So you probably think, oh yeah, that makes sense. But do we really sit down when we're sitting down at the start of the year and discuss, what can we do to make this club be more attractive, or what is our club vision? What should be clear about what type of club you are and what you offer both on and off the field. So it's brilliant. We always offer so much on the field. So with underage training, with Gaelic for mothers and others, with Gaelic for teens, maybe some years, with field and so many competitions, but sometimes it's those off the field activities that really entice people in. So yes, it's great getting their players there, but what can we do for our parents as well? So like so many clubs, even just local clubs around me, are having card nights for some of the older, not just older, but it entices a lot of the older generation, and bingo nights as well, just wee things like that, just to keep everybody involved. And especially we're looking at competitor clubs in the area. That's, I'm a rural club. I know Niall's quite a rural club as well. So it's maybe not such an issue, but our urban clubs, it probably is really a big issue. I know from up in Belfast, even on the Falls Road, there could be 10 or 11 clubs now. There could be more on the one stretch of road. So, they're probably looking at, what are they charging for membership? We might have to go lower. So just certainly things like that as well.
Yeah, and I suppose it's not even other clubs. It's it's entertainment, it's computer games, it's all these different things that maybe weren't there previously. It's the internet, it's social media, it's all this stuff, and even the amount of different pastimes, the amount of different sports that people can play these days. Like people can go and do anything. So you have to understand that these aren't the days where the football club is the only thing in the area. So you want to be more attractive, and you want to suppose give them the most reason why they want to be involved.
So position your club. Here are some questions to ask to help position your club. So the folks that are on the webinar here, you can have a wee stab at this as well. You can put your answers, even just a few of the questions, you can put them all into the chat there, and we'll have a wee discussion about each one. But the first question is, how does your club compare with other organizations? What makes your club different from other clubs? What are parents looking for in an activity? What do participants want in an event? What would a potential sponsor look for? And does your club have the right image to recruit new members?
Yeah, and look at it, like you can write that into the chat if you want. You can share your thoughts on that, but it might be something even you can write down yourself. For when you're going to do something within the club, these are some things to think about as well. How does your club compare to the other organizations in your local area, the other clubs in your local area, and what makes it different? What's the selling point of your club? When you're thinking about maybe what to do at the start of the year, if you're setting out a program of events, maybe for your club, what are parents looking for? What are your players looking for? What are, as Aidan mentioned, what are maybe the older generation of members looking for? And I suppose, what do people want from an event? Is that going to be a cards night? Is it going to be something social? Is it going to be a Gaelic from Oz and Others program? And also, what would a potential sponsor look for? So how are you going to position your club that would be as appealing as possible to a potential sponsor, and what makes your club unique? What is the selling point of your club for a sponsor? Is it that you're really rooted in the community? Is it the amount of members you have? Is it the amount of local families you're catering for? Is it the number of people you're engaging with in the local community? And does your club have the right image to recruit new members? So is your club a bit of a closed shop? Is it the same people year in, year out? Is there a high turnover of members? Is there a high turnover of committee officers, players, coaches, that kind of thing? So think about your image to people who might want to get involved. and does your club seem very appealing, you know? I suppose I'll take over from you here, Eddie, just a wee second as well. And I suppose it's something to think about, and it's something we don't always think about, you know, from our clubs is marketing. It's maybe something you would maybe associate more with the business. But like marketing, you know, it involves the combination of elements, you know, commonly referred to as the 5 Ps. The research in your target market, what your club offers and where it's positioned within the market helps identify your club's marketing mix. So we might just go through these ones, and there are wee things to note. And I know it might seem like this mightn't be something that's relevant to your club, but I think, you know, when we go through them, it will be. The product, and I know we don't often think about what we do as a product, but having or producing a product or service is, you know, required by others. That's something you can market, and it could be your sport, you know, the sport itself, which is one of the fastest growing sports, you know, in Europe and the world. Your club, what is the product your club gives? Is it a sport and pastime for, you know, for players? Is it the social side of things? Is it that it's family orientated? What is the product that your club offers? It could be the competitions you're involved in. It could be, you know, competitions you're running within your own club. It could be, you know, any other activities you do, like as Aidan mentioned, you know, the card games, Gaelic for mothers and others, any of those kinds of things at all. It could be coach education. It could be just the social aspect of being involved in the club. People then, you know, number 2, your customers. And I know we're sort of talking in customers, but that's really your members. Your people who use your services and products, and that's your players, your volunteers, and your members. So think about them when you're marketing your club as well. Price, Aidan mentioned it there about membership fees. You know, pricing of your product or service, price at a market price, and that includes membership fees and structure, discounts, and the cost of a member's time and the cost of a volunteer's time as well. When you put that into your price, like there's a great quote, there's a great figure I always sort of come back to, that there was a study done one time and it found that a volunteer's time is worth about 18,000 euro or 16,000 pounds in terms of effort and energy and time and even the value they're bringing to your club. So sell the value of being part of your club rather than the cost. So what's the value of being part of your club? You know, I suppose we all talk about membership fees and things like that there and the price of membership, but what are they getting for that price? So when you think of, we talk about other clubs, other sports, if you're going to take 10 swimming lessons, what would the price of that be? But to be involved in your club, you're going to get training, you know, training sessions weekly, you know, for X number of months of the year. You're going to get X number of games. You're going to get this involvement and that involvement. So think about that when you're thinking of the price of being involved in your club, or the cost or the value of being involved in your club. Promotion then, you know, ensuring that potential customers or potential people that are going to be involved in your club are aware of your club. This could be, you know, advertising, whether, you know, if you have use of a pitch, there's going to be advertising around the pitch. Publicity, that you're going to get publicity from being involved in the club. Sponsorship, brochures, if you're in any kind of wee, you know, events and things like that there, that there's space and brochures for people, posters, or even talking to people. I think, you know, personal selling, that's what that is, talking to people. And I find that, you know, the best way or the most effective way to get anyone involved in your club is to talk to them face to face. I don't know, Aidan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I would still be, some people might call it a bit old school, but you know, I always find it's a lot harder for people to say no to you if you actually talk to them face to face. So especially in an era where clubs are maybe struggling a wee bit getting volunteers in, and you know, we chat about a problem that always comes back to us. I'm sure it's with all the development officers around the country, but not just in Ulster, but is we need more volunteers in our club. We need more volunteers. And then the first question is, well, have you asked many people? No. So I think it's always a lot better going and asking face to face. And a lot of the time people do want to help. We're really just not asking them as well. So I think just, especially in that promotion, word of mouth is massive. Yes, you can put stuff up in social media, but you know, if a club's doing things right or they're doing something well, I think word of mouth will get round as well, and that's only a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. And the final one there is, you know, place. You know, that's where your service is, where the club is. It could be where you train, where you're competing. So where your home pitch is, where do you travel to, where do you play your games, what are the other facilities you have? You know, is there anything at your home pitch or at the pitch you use that you could market that to people as well? Is there a walking track? Is there a handball wall? Is there a gym, an outdoor gym? Is there a playground? Is there any of these kinds of things that you could use to I suppose, make yourself more appealing to people who might want to get involved? We question for you guys. I know we have a few people in with us tonight, and you know, what do you think are the qualities of a good club PR team? So the people that promote your club, what do you think the good qualities of those kinds of people are? And I know I'll unmute you there, guys, and if anyone wants to come in and add their thoughts to that, you're very welcome.
I think hi guys, thanks. This is Emer, by the way, from Glasgow. I think the really focusing on being completely inclusive. Doesn't matter, you know, if you've played Gaelic before, it doesn't matter if you know what a Gaelic football is. Like come along and come to training and come and join the team, and because there's so much more to it than just the actual playing of the sport. It's the, you know, being with the team and all that. So yeah, I would say kind of being inclusive to every kind of level.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point, Emer, and it's been welcoming, isn't it, as well? You know, if you want to showcase your club, you're gonna be inclusive. You're gonna be welcoming to anyone who wants to get involved, or anyone who, you know, prospectively could get involved. I see we have Ruth in the chat there as well. I don't know, Ruth, if you want to add anything, you know, come on ahead in now. But we might just move on a wee second. Unless, Ruth, do you want to come in there?
I just want to say on Emer's point about inclusivity, it's also really important that it's inclusivity across all codes, that it's not just the men's stuff that's being promoted all the time, and the women's stuff sort of just takes a little bit of a backseat, and it can happen, and it's a traditional thing, and it's something that it's a bit of an uphill battle, I suppose, for some clubs. But yeah, inclusivity across all codes, across all genders, across, you know, is something that we're definitely trying to, and all abilities as well is really important, because if you exclude anyone, you lose them.
Yeah, no, come here, Ruth. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, and I suppose I'm assuming, Ruth, you're from a club that's part of a one club model, and
we are, yeah, it's Trim LGFA in Meath. Yeah,
so that'll be like that's I suppose something to set out. I suppose when you're going out there, I suppose operating under the one club model, and I suppose we'll not get into the one club model tonight, but that should be one of the, I suppose, key aspects of it, that everyone is getting, I suppose, even promotion and inclusive promotion. And you've hit a really good point there, that inclusivity, no matter the ability, is a really good point as well, about being welcoming and promoting your club as well, that you're not just promoting, I suppose, the teams that are winning and the clubs that are, or the teams that are successful, or the members that are successful. You're promoting everyone. So I suppose in terms of, you know, a good PR team, just in terms of people you might want to gather up or get involved in terms of promoting your club, you know, good writing skills. So obviously a lot of our PR at the minute, a lot of our promotion is going to be done online. It's going to be done maybe in local newspapers. It's going to be I suppose, visual things that people are going to see. So I suppose someone with the ability to capture the imagination with their writing skills, whether it be match reports, or even, you know, for events and things like that there, or reports of things that are happening, or even just weekly updates, that'll be really useful. People have good time management. I suppose, you know, promoting your club has become a big job now, just because of, I suppose, we've moved away from the traditional, well, you know, put the notes in the paper and things like that there, where there's a number of different channels where you can sort of put out what your club's doing. So time management and even organizational skills there as well. Access to imagery. So if you have anyone in the club who's good at or interested in taking photographs and promoting your club that way, and I suppose we'll get to photographs in a wee while, but someone who's interested in that, someone who's the ability to do that, someone with, you know, media contacts that can get in touch with local papers and local journalists and things like that there, that can help promote your club. Good communication skills. Obviously, you know, I suppose it doesn't have to go into that one. And accessibility. You know, someone who's approachable, I would take that to mean as, and someone who is accessible to people, and they're not, I suppose, a faceless name, you know, that are just promoting the club. And then I suppose we've hit on that point there as well, that someone who's going to ensure that all teams and events are covered. And I suppose a good way to do that is having contacts within each team within your club, or within each small, you know, group within your club as well. You know, at this time of year, Aidan said it there earlier, you know, the club seasons in full swing are coming to an end. Social media channels should be busy. So it's the time of the year where sort of county finals are being played or have been played. There could be wee events coming up. Obviously with Halloween over the last week as well. So your social media channels should be busy. Some advice is, post regularly. I think I was talking to somebody about this recently, and they said sort of, once a day, and or maybe once every 2 days, and that's regularly, and then people know it's coming and they're looking out for it. Member profiles, that's something you could look at this time of year. Players, mentors, officers, match officials, things like that there. I saw a great one yesterday actually from Roscommon GA, where they presented the referee with his medal for refereeing and officiating the county final in the stand at the same time as before the team went up to lift the cup. So I thought that was a great way of promoting, being a referee and the respect there for the referee and that. So it's a wee thing to think about. Club notes, it's a big one. I don't know how many clubs do notes at the minute, but we have one, and our club's colours are black and amber, so black and yellow, and our club notes are called the yellow pages. And I would know, I have relatives ring me every week to see did I get the yellow pages yet, and they were putting in the shops and things every week. So that's something to think about this time of year as well.
I think that's a big one now. Sorry for cutting in there, because I know my club as well. A lot of people maybe don't have Facebook or don't bother with it, where most of the club stuff goes up on. So like that goes in their local papers on a Tuesday, and I know it's massive because some of the, I'm not stereotyping here, but some of the older generation who don't have social media or Facebook, they rely on those club notes to know when games are. So yeah. I think it's massively important to keep. We chatted about inclusivity there a minute ago, so I think that's just part of it as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there as well. It's one that we sometimes forget about when social media is so easy to use. We forget about the more traditional channels that you can go down, and that is, putting the notes in the paper, having a wee bulletin or something every week just to hand around to your members. And it is right that most people people don't bother with that. And how do you engage them? How do you promote your club to them? Another one is doing a match preview, especially this time of year where you're coming up to county finals and things. Doing a wee preview of the match, a report of the match, a review of the match, that kind of things, what's happened in the local area, what's happened within the club in the last week and things like that there, doing reviews, that sort of thing. Details of your upcoming AGM. It's going to happen everywhere across the country and across, I suppose, our international units over the next while as well. What positions need to be filled? How do you nominate someone? Where can that be done? Promote that a lot this year, because we suppose gone are the days where you can just rely on waiting to see who turns up. So that's something we should be promoting this time of year as well. Remember to wrap up the year as well, thanking people and thanking the volunteers and thanking sponsors. In other years you might have been able to have, host an event to thank your volunteers, or host like maybe a social event at the end of the year to thank people, but it mightn't be possible, just in these times. So remember to wrap up the year, even on social media, and thank people. If you have a club website, put it on there as well, and all the people that have supported you through the year too. And I suppose not forgetting, like sometimes we go into hibernation over the winter period when the football on the pitch ends. We sometimes think that's that, but remember to tell people about what's happening in the new year. What's happening, in January, what's happening in February, when's training going to start again? These things, making sure and get that out early as well. And then I suppose not last but not least, it doesn't have to be just things in your own club. It could be community activities. It could be what's happening in the local area. How are you getting involved in it? How is the club attached to it? And then, associating with community events will place your club within the community as well. I suppose basics throughout the year as well, things to promote and things to think about, fixtures and results. And it's something that I have seen that we don't do particularly well. Sometimes we forget about it. And I know if you were go to look up at results, sometimes they can be very hard to try and find, unless there's a county website or there's some kind of automatic updating results and things like that there. It can be very hard to find. And I find Twitter and things like that there, where clubs are constantly updating if they're giving the latest updates in games, or if they're even posting the halftime and final scores. That's a really, really useful way of getting, I suppose, getting your club out there as well. Posting training times. I know it sounds simple, but you might have people that don't know. You might have people new to the area that don't know when it's on. Can be a way of getting people out that maybe otherwise wouldn't have came out to training. Your club news and things like that there. So if there's any news throughout the week, we said about AGMs, has there been monthly meetings, has there been any fundraising going on, all that kind of stuff, put that out as well. Has there been any awards, picked up by the club, picked up by volunteers, picked up by officers, that kind of thing? Has anyone even, been elected to county boards and things like that there? Or have there any challenges? I suppose that was a big one last year. Any challenges for your younger members to partake in, or even your older members as well? What are your, club player or member achievements, even if it's not associated with the club? If there's achievements there, highlight those as well. And if you have any interviews to do with local, players, managers, coaches, any officers, officials, anything like that there, and for all teams as well. And then last but not least, your weekly club lotto, because that can be a good sort of gateway for people to get involved in your club as well. They mightn't be a member, they mightn't be a volunteer, but they might do the club lotto every week. So make sure and promote that as well. I suppose just in terms of PR and promoting your club, it's good to have a database of contacts. But remember, to suppose be aware of GDPR in terms of that. If you're taking your members' details at registration and things like that there, make them aware if you're using that for promotion reasons, and use thing we would advise is to use Fern. I think it's a great system. It's a great way of communicating with your members as well. I know there's other things you can use as well, and there's other different services, but Fern would be the one we'd be suggesting. Having a database of coaching team phone numbers, just so you can get results, you can get fixtures, you can get all team training times, all that kind of stuff will be useful, or even if you have a point of contact with every team, and then you're ensuring that every team has equal promotion because you're getting in touch with people. And even, a database of local journalists, newspapers, radios, websites that promote ladies football, and know the deadline days and the times where you need to get them information. And I suppose just on that one, like sometimes I find when you give newspapers, radios, things like that, when you give them the information, they mightn't put it up the first time, they mightn't put it up the second time. If you keep sending them the information, if you keep sending them things regularly, they will put it in for you. In terms of, when you're operating a PR campaign, determine what you want to accomplish. Before starting your campaign, or before starting whatever promotion you're going to do, when you think at the start of the year, it could be a drive to get membership paid, it could be new members, it could be new players, that kind of thing. Before you're determining what you want to do, figure out what you want, what your desired outcome is. It could be a club fundraiser, is the example we have here. So select your target audience. Who are you going to be targeting for your club fundraiser? Is it going to be local people? Is it going to be further afield? Before you do anything, get people together and have a brainstorm, have a talk about it, because your idea of a good campaign might be different to someone else's idea of a good campaign. So you need to communicate that to each other. Gather intelligent, who can help? Who is our audience? What do we need to be saying to them? What do people want to hear? That thing, gather intelligence, find out what people want from, what they want to see in social media, what they want to see in the newspapers. Our video is going to help, our photos going to help, that kind of thing. Select your channels. So is this going to be social media driven? Is it going to be traditional media? Are you going to have an event to launch it? Are you going to have a launch night? Are you going to have events, I suppose, in the lead up to whatever the fundraiser is? And then I suppose when you're going, always check, are we in the right lines here as well? And then I suppose execute your PR campaign and follow up. I know for myself, I know it sounds a bit convoluted there, but for myself, we had a PR campaign around a club fundraiser a couple of years ago, and we decided we were going to release videos, whether that be about a sponsor, about a participant, about an idea that's been involved. Now this was a bit overboard, maybe. We did it every 4 hours from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we done every 3 hours, maybe we did 9, 12, 3, 6, and 9 again. And it was this person's taking part here, this person's doing this, and we had a lot of people involved, so we could have done that. But we did that for 2 weeks straight, and we just did all the posts, we scheduled them, and then people were ready for it. They were ready for the next reveal, and it became a bit of an event in itself. So that's how we did it. And then once you've done that, follow up, check with people, are they seeing it? Check with people, is it getting through them? Who's engaging with whatever you're putting out there? I suppose in the chat, and we might just keep going through this because we know we've only a few on the night, but what kind of forms of media do you need to engage with? And I think, we've discussed them there already. You've got your newspapers, and I suppose the big thing would be don't neglect them. You know, they're a really, really useful way of getting in touch with people. So don't be afraid to get in touch with newspapers. You've got your radio as well. You know, there's still a lot of local radio stations around there, and they should be willing to promote your club or promote whatever you're doing. Your websites, so your county should have a website. You know, there's national websites there as well. Get in touch and see if there's anything can be done there to promote whatever you're at. You know, you have social media. So if your club is a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know, do that as well. And last but not least, community notice boards. So, you know, not just you know, your local notes, as we talked about, our local bulletin or weekly notes. What about your school notice board? What about a parish notice board? What about notice board in shops, things like that there? Where can you advertise that as well? I suppose we'll touch a wee bit on the website. You know, you're a website, and it's one people forget about, and it's one people maybe neglect a wee bit. But I always think that, you know, over the last 10, 15 years, we've had these social media channels, whatever they be. You know, what happens in the morning if they're gone? You have no archive, you have no backup. And really, it's your history is gone. So a website's always a great idea to have a website. And, you know, wee sections in that, you have about us, you have your history, your roll of honor, what have you won, any news coming up, fixtures and results, and link that to, you know, your county website or whatever. Contacts, if there's contacts for people in your club, put them on there as well. Any media, so link to your social media pages. You have member profiles on there, sponsors and partners could be on there as well. And I suppose the purpose of your website is to house static material and information. So, like, think of it as a bit of a time capsule. You're putting that on there, and it's there, and it's yours, and you own it. And you remember, you're better with no website than one that's out of date. So again, like, I was involved in I suppose, updating our club website for a couple of years. Like, and it was something that if you didn't do it, people would notice. You know, and you might think, who's looking at this? But again, like, I remember getting phone calls that the weekly notes weren't posted one week. And people are looking, and it's a good resource for people who maybe aren't interested in the social media side of things as well, but have access to that. In terms of, I suppose we mentioned there as well, social media, it's never been easier to promote your own club because you have control of what you put out there. But I think the thing to think about social media is, you know, you don't own it. You're a content creator. But again, once if these things stop in the morning, all that stuff's gone. So it's important to have the website as well. But think about Twitter, think about Instagram, think about Facebook. To me, the likes of the Twitter is match updates, things like that there, short, snappy, who's scoring points, who's scoring goals, what's the halftime score, what's the full-time score. Instagram is for your pictures. You know, is there events coming up? If you get action shots of games, things like that there. And then Facebook is I suppose, for letting people know what's happening, weekly updates, your news, your events, your match reports, things like that there. I don't know if you have anything to add on that one, Aidan.
I think you're spot on there, Niall, because I've started to see match reports almost going up on Twitter, and it's about 10 tweets long, and people would soon lose interest. I think some clubs now have really jumped in to Instagram. You would probably say the younger generation or underage players are all like an Instagram. So I think, as you said, that's perfect. Even live videos from events as well.
Yeah.
Like dinner dances or volunteer nights out on Facebook. But I think it's only a matter of time before we see clubs going into sort of TikTok as well. I am not on TikTok, so I'm not 100% sure, but I know our club has mentioned it recently, been getting on the TikTok just to keep engaged with its younger members. So that's probably where we're going to see clubs moving next as well.
And I would say probably just from our, I suppose, our own point of view is like we would advise you maybe to keep to the, you know, focus on the three there, focus on the Facebook, the Instagram, the Twitter, and maybe don't branch out into the TikToks, the Snapchat, those kinds of things, you know, because I suppose you've got all you need with those three. And I don't know if you'd be giving yourself more work and you'd be getting yourself into more bother just by branching out into the other ones as well. But those really are those three, you know, those is what you want to be getting out of those three. You know, how active is your club on social media? How often do you post on social media? Wee things to ask yourself. Do you have a plan on how you approach social media? Do you meet regularly and say, well, this month we're going to post this, we're going to post this, what have we got coming up? Or is it really more ad hoc than that? Do you post across all the three main channels on a regular basis, or has your Twitter not been updated in 2 or 3 years? Is your Instagram October 2019? You know, things like that there. Are your handles aligned? So is it the same name? If somebody's going to search your club, is it the same thing on each channel, or have you different names? do you have any kind of work group in place? Is there a PR work group there that'll look after them? Are there any old club accounts out there? Are there any things that somebody's lost the password for, or you don't have access to anymore? So if so, add official account into the bio of the ones that you're using. Are you tagging your county and the LGFA in your posts and your club competition sponsors, things like that there, your club sponsors? Could be wee things to think about when you're using social media as well. Some things to think about as well, and these are take-home things. You don't have to, I suppose, come into the chat with us as well. What would people in your community, why would they want to join your club? How do you ensure your club is the most positive and open in the community? We talked about positivity and openness and inclusivity and fairness there. How do you make sure that your club is that? How can you bring the news to the widest possible audience? So how can you get your news to the widest number of people? Can you involve other clubs? Can you involve your county? Can you involve local personalities and things like that there, or local, I don't want to use the word celebrity, but local famous faces, that could maybe get your news out there as well. Are you tagging correctly? So you can see hashtags and things, and sometimes there are the spaces in them, things like that there. Are you using those correctly? Are you using the relevant and correct hashtags? Avoid where you can, a tweet or even a Facebook post or thing that's all text. Add a video or add an image, and there's wee apps like Canva and things like that there you can use to add that. And are you delivering positive messaging? Really important one to think about. Are you giving out about refereeing? Are you saying, how bad a performance was? Things like that there. Always be promoting the club, always be putting things in a positive light. And post your news across multiple social media channels. So you can link your different accounts there as well, but sometimes they don't link up as well if you share something from one to the other. So maybe you're going to post wee things on all of them, and understand when to use social media accounts. We talked about, I suppose, match reports and things like that on Twitter, your pictures on Instagram, and then of news and events and things like that on Facebook. In terms of photography, I suppose we touch on, if you're going to be taking photographs, seek permission. You'd be asking that, I suppose, in your membership forms from your own members, but seek permission from the other club as well. Pay heed to our own LGFA photography social media guidelines. And I think this has come from, I suppose, our PR person is, no more than 20 images to an event. If you're going to post a match, try to keep it to around 20 images. Be mindful of opt out or opt in, and particularly for underage players. So be mindful if someone has said they don't want their image taken, that you're respectful of that and you don't then. And if you don't ask why if someone declines permission for a photograph of an underage player or any player. If someone doesn't want their photograph taken, I suppose it's not our place to ask them why not. Things you can act on now, I suppose, assess how aware everyone in the community is of your club's activities. So that's the place I'd be starting with. Figure out where we're at now. What do people think of us at the minute? What's our imprint there at the minute? Step back from that then. How do you create the most positive image and message for your club? So if maybe there isn't that positive an image of your club at the moment, how can you change that? Look at your social media platforms. What is working, what's not? Look at your traditional media platforms. What's working, what's not? Are you sending stuff to the paper every week and it's not going in? Are you talking to radio stations and they're not doing anything for you? Are people reading your local notes? Are people looking at the bulletins you put out, or the notice boards and things like that there? What's working and what's not? And what do you need to put your energy into then? Do you include all teams and groups in your club promotion? And if not, why not? And that's a question I'd be asking around, especially Ruth, you mentioned about, men's and ladies sections of the clubs and all that's here. If you're in a one club model, they should, it should be all the one. So if someone's getting more promotion than someone else, why is that? And why? How do we change that? And can you get someone to help you in that? And can you become a community hub, the place where people come for information? And I think we're really, really excellent at that. And we're probably really excellent at that in times of crisis. When you think of wakes and things like that there, the local ladies club or the local men's club really rally around those sort of occasions, and they become a focal point and a community hub for that. How can you become a community hub, all other times as well, and make sure you're sharing details of community events and getting involved in the local community as well, that you're not a place apart from that you're central to that. I think in terms of take-home messages for you tonight, guys, a lot of our organizations make mistakes and spend a lot of time and money conducting promotions to get new people. So they spend a lot of time thinking about our new members and forgetting about our old members. And we do have volunteer recruitment retention workshops as well, guys. And I advise you to look for them when they're coming out. I think they should be in the next couple of months too, and we'll talk about this. But don't neglect your members as well. You know, developing strategies to improve what you offer to your members at the minute. The attitudes of your club officials to members, or even customers, supporters, players, and the standard of your facilities may be less expensive and more effective in the long term. So if you spend your time getting new people in, and there's real high turnover, that mightn't actually be of real value to your club than if you're looking after the members that are already there as well. I don't know, Aidan, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think you're 100% spot on, Niall. I don't think you can add much. A lot of the points that we made here tonight are so simple, but they're probably things we don't think about when we're back at our club. So I know myself, I'll be taking a lot from this as well, but you're spot on there.
No bother. And I suppose, just guys, from yourselves, and something to ask yourself as well is, you know, what's one thing you're going to do in the club after this webinar? So when we do these, I suppose when we do this club leadership series, it's not for us just to hear, you know, to talk for however length of time and go away. And we want you to implement what you're hearing here. So think about what you're going to do. If there's one thing you can do, one thing you've taken away from tonight that you can do in the club, then that's a positive. So think about what are you going to do as a result of something that's been discussed here tonight as well. And I suppose, guys, just before we go, you know, thank you for logging in with us. And if you have any questions, you know, now's the time. But I suppose we really appreciate you being here tonight. And I suppose good luck with the rest of your year and going into the new season as well.